President Trump says it's his goal to end the wars in the Middle East and Ukraine, but will Iran, Hamas, and Russia comply? Joining us now to break it down is Cliff May, founder and president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C., and host of the Foreign Policy podcast. Cliff, always great to see you. Hey, let's start with Iran. The Wall Street Journal reported this week that U.S. intelligence officials believe an Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facilities could come this year. Cliff, I know President Trump wants to solve this diplomatically, but right now seems like a golden opportunity to strike those nuclear sites. Do you think military action may be inevitable?
It may be inevitable. And one thing I would say is the fact that the Iranian regime has to worry that the Israelis may strike is one thing that may move them to say, all right, let's see if we can't get a deal that President Trump and the Israelis will accept. And that would have to be a deal to get rid of their nuclear programs. In order to get rid of their nuclear programs, they need to say on the record very clearly what all their nuclear activities are and have been. They've never done that, in fact. So there's a lot to do. But if they're really afraid of getting hit, then they might be willing to make some concessions rather than get hit. But that fear is necessary. If they don't have that fear, there's no way they're going to make a good deal. And it's going to they got a deal that was good for them, as Trump understood, out of Obama, because it was a deal that said you delay it for a while and you can be a nuclear power pretty soon. And we're talking like, around now. So anyhow, the Israelis have to be thinking about that now before the air defenses that the Israelis took out are restored in some way, before they start to build back their defenses better.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, Cliff. Great point. And speaking of leverage and peace through strength, Hamas now saying they will release hostages this weekend. Cliff, where do you think that's heading? We have President Trump, of course, putting forth this Gaza relocation plan. Jordan and Egypt don't seem too happy about it. But endgame in Gaza, I know it's hard to see that far ahead, but could this relocation plan work? Could it really happen?
I think actually it could. I think it's very interesting that President Trump has decided to break the normal paradigm, which is that there has to be a two-state solution, when we know Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution. Hamas's grievance is that Israel exists. Also, President Trump just looked at Gaza and said, look, there's rubble all over the place. There are unexploded ordnance. There's IEDs. It has to be cleared. You can't clear it when people are there. They're going to have to go somewhere. Now, in every war, probably throughout history, there have been people who have wanted to flee the conflict, and they've been allowed to do so. In fact, I'm not sure it's not a violation of international law, for example, Egypt to say, nope, we're not taking any refugees from this war, even temporarily. We have plenty of room in the Sinai Peninsula. We can have tents. International community will provide them, whatever. No, we're not going to do it. Why are they not going to do it? Well, that's an interesting question. Two reasons, probably, not mutually exclusive. One is they want these Gazans to serve as human shields for Hamas. They want them to get killed because that's bad for Israel. Two is they see people from Gaza as destabilizing because they may be supporters of Hamas, which is Muslim Brotherhood, which is jihadi. So there are both those reasons. But what Trump is saying, get them out temporarily. We're not talking about forced evacuations. People want to leave and get out of the area because there's nothing for them there. Let's do it. Now, he's going to have to put a lot of pressure on Egypt and Jordan to get them to agree. But Trump knows how to put pressure on those countries.
Yeah, Cliff, to me, this seems like a common sense plan. And as you said, the paradigm, it's smashing the failed paradigm, the two-state madness that's gone back decades and decades. Speaking of smashing the paradigm, Russia, Ukraine, President Trump held a call with Putin this week, and he's been talking to Zelensky. Do you think we could actually see an end to that conflict? I know Putin says now he's willing to negotiate. Can we see an end to Russia, Ukraine, maybe sometime in the near future now that Trump is back in office?
I don't think we see an end to the conflict. I think we might see a ceasefire, which we never should confuse with an end to the conflict. It's an end to immediate hostilities and maybe an end to people dying for a while. But Putin has ambitions. What would happen if you had a ceasefire? I think Putin would try to build up his munitions and his military strength and might well come back. At the same time, The Ukrainians will do the same. They'll buy weapons and they'll try to be more of what we like to call a porcupine, hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Who wins in that battle in that kind of arms race? I think that's hard to predict. But I think that's what we may be heading towards. It may be that Putin feels he needs what he'll see as a pause. The Ukrainians may think it's better to do that. I think that's at least a realistic possibility right now.
Yeah. Cliff, great breakdown. A great breakdown of the state of play right now in a very dangerous world. Folks, be sure to follow Cliff on X, across social media. Follow FDD as well. They're doing great work. Cliff, great job as always. We'll see you again soon.